people are really used to seeing, black people just go on one side to the Democratic Party. And, we've been doing that for a long time as a people. And we haven't really gained as much as I believe we should. And I believe it's important to engage with both sides.
Well, that's rapper and actor Ice Cube saying what may be on the mind of other black voters, that black Americans haven't really gained much after voting Democrat for decades. Now, in these midterms, many black voters are considering voting Republican for the first time, according to reports. Joining us to discuss now, former New York City Commissioner Brian Anderson, radio talk show host Simon Conway, and Project 21 member and political activist Whitley Yates. Whitley, I'm going to start with you here. What do you make of Ice Cube's responses, but specifically about the black vote coming for the midterm elections?
It's interesting because I think that the black vote has been taken for granted, but the black community has gained from voting Democrat. They've gained high inflation. They've gained out of control crime. They've gained higher taxes. They just haven't gained anything that's been beneficial. But consistently, year over year, election after election, they vote Democrat. And so I think that him saying that is a red herring or a canary in the coal mine to say it's time to do something different. These policies aren't working, and these politicians do not have our best interests at heart.
Yeah, you remember when Donald Trump was running and he said something about what have you got to lose? And a lot of people criticize that, but it's like, it kind of made sense.
Try something else.
Yeah,
you have a
Simon.
choice.
Yeah, I mean, things haven't gone so great when you voted in unison. And by the way, I hate thinking that all black people are going to vote the same way anyway. That's another discussion to have. But let's bring in Simon.
Right. I mean, you make the point I was going to make, Bob. I don't like hearing about the black vote, the Hispanic vote. We're people, and one of the things I'm most proud of in Iowa, I'm in Iowa, is we used to have a little thing on the front of a ballot where you could vote straight ticket.
Right.
So you go in, you literally fill in one oval, and you leave. That was it. And I campaigned successfully to get that removed from Iowa ballots. So now you actually have to think about who you're voting for. It may not change the outcome for a lot of people, but at least they're thinking. As far as the black community, certainly we can look at Democrat strongholds where it would appear to be in the interest of the politicians to keep poor people poor and in rundown communities, because then they somehow or other feel that they have to rely on the government to help them out. And that's, I think, part of it as well. It's horrible. I hate the whole thing. Ice Cube's right, by the way.
And I want to move on here because you did mention, Simon, the Hispanic vote. And in what many are calling a slight specifically aimed at Hispanic voters, Republican Representative Mayra Flores had her request for membership denied by the Democrat-controlled Congressional Hispanic Caucus, even though she is the first Mexican-born congresswoman in American history. Brian Anderson, I mean,
Yep, well, it is a Democrat-controlled committee. There's another one in D.C. that she could easily belong to, but it's a way of reaching across the aisle as well. Doesn't everybody brag about, reaching across the aisle? But God forbid you're a Republican nowadays. You can see that the dialogue has gone nowhere, and the Democrats are just doing what they do.
When it comes to Latino voters, I've lived in Texas. I'm married into a Hispanic family, and it bugs the heck out of me that people give the perception that it's like one unified vote, and it's so condescending that they say, "Well, talk about the border, talk about immigration."
That any group wants to talk about a certain
news
issue.
for you. Hispanics are what, 18% of our population, whatever it is, significant number, and they're throughout the entire fabric of our country.
Americans.
So to talk about one vote, it's like. It's ludicrous.
One way of thinking, right?
Yeah, Simon, I'm sure,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Bob, look, Democrats are very into segregation, right? We've seen it throughout history.
At least when it comes to voting, it's absolutely true.
Jim Crow Democrats, KKK Democrat. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican for a reason. And it's because he knew exactly who the Democrats were. They're still the same people, except now It's political segregation. But segregation is segregation, and we should say no to that in every single form we encounter it. And what they've done to this new congresswoman is mind-blowing, frankly. And they should be ashamed of themselves, but they're not.
Whitley, your reaction?
Yeah, I find it interesting that only specific Hispanics can belong in specific caucuses.
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
Congresswoman Flores tweeted, "I guess I'm the wrong kind of taco for this group." And the truth is that Democrats push diversity, but really don't want it. What they want is groupthink. What they want is monolithic people who all believe the same thing and push the same ideologies. I think last week we had a woman running for Congress here, Jennifer Ruth Green, and she's a Black Republican who was denied entrance into the Black caucus. Surprisingly, they want a specific kind of person and ideology that's going to fall in line with their groupthink to push and propel their terrible agenda for America.
By the way, let's listen to this from our president.
Some airlines, if you want 6 more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money. But you don't know it until you purchase your ticket. Look, folks, these are junk fees. They're unfair, and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks and people of color.
How's that?
I completely missed how we went from hidden fees to...
Whitley, legroom is racist.
Listen, I'm pretty sure that our president is senile and he has no idea what he's talking about. Legroom is not racist. That's like saying sitting in first class is racist. Absolutely not. You pay for the ticket that you want and that you can afford. It has absolutely nothing to do with marginalized people. I'm someone who is 5'2", and I don't need extra legroom. So does that make me a marginalized person? Absolutely not. President Biden is asinine and senile.
Yeah, and Brian, wasn't there... Who was it? There was a Black female politician who said she had to ride in first class.
Oh, right.
Because
I remember that.
That people of color were not treated well in coach.
Right, so she had to fly first class.
I don't want to say the wrong person. I have somebody in mind, but I don't want to be wrong.
But I don't remember who it was.
No.
Anyone?
No. But I'm just
Simon knows all. He doesn't know.
But of all the quotes,
No, I'm sorry,
all the quotes
I don't remember who it was, but I remember the story.
Yeah.
For all the quotes from the president, I'm surprised no one reminded him of if you voted for the Trump, you ain't black, man.
I'm glad that you brought
So
that
there
up.
you have
I was
it.
thinking the same thing.
They're telling you what your concerns are and what you are and what you aren't.
You know, Democrats need to get away from identifying people just by whatever they pick. I mean, there are human beings out there in all parts of the economy in all kinds of states.
Well, they'll learn the lesson when they start losing elections, and hopefully this is the first one they'll start losing.
Yeah. All right.
Did we all forget what Biden said about Obama? I mean, did we all forget that? This is ingrained into Democrats, I believe.
Do you want to say
They can't get away from it because it's who they are.
Do you want to say it?
I'll leave that to somebody else.
Okay.
It was
all right.
not
Brian
nice, and I don't like those things coming out of my mouth. But I think we all remember
understand.
it.
Fair enough. Brian Anderson, Simon Conway, Whitley Yates. Are they coming back?
No.
Are we done?
I think
we're
done
with them.
That
I
was
guess
fun,
we're done
though.
with you.
Let's do it again.
Good to
That's
meet
a
you
shame.
guys.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you all.